We are here for episode 3 of Hardwired 662. Michael Smith. For those who don't know, Michael and I go a long way back. Coach Smith's been doing this for how long now? This is your what year?
26. I just finished. I've been a head coach for 20.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been quick.
It's crazy. And you are now we've won the most championships of any coach in Mississippi history.
Sir. Yes,
You've won 11, boys and girls. Guys had won 4 straight. Overall, you've won, 8 of the last 10?
That's right, yeah.
Boys and girls. You're not the type to talk about yourself. I know you're going to put it on the teams. But your name's down in the history book in a state where we've had a lot of great basketball coaches. That's got to mean something to you.
Well, I think when you started out, you just wanted Coach Ashley and Childers and Ford and Coach McDonald and all those people just to respect you by the job that you did. And I think it's a great accomplishment for our kids and for them to believe that we would have a chance to win. I think it says a lot about them. And to win, you have to have an alignment between the coach and the community, administration, and we've been so blessed here with a bunch of great administrators in our town, support schools. I mean, they're involved, but they don't meddle. They allowed us to not be very good for a while, and they hired a guy that didn't know what he was doing, and they gave me some grace in trying to figure it out. But I think it's different now too. We'd be foolish not to talk about, we have 7 classifications now, and there's a lot of schools that won championship years ago that those older guys on this Mount Rushmore in this area we're going against, that they're not even schools anymore. So it's watered down somewhat from what it was, and there's more opportunities to win it. And I've kind of cheated and done both. So I don't know if that's fair to say that I've won the most.
But still, to get to that point, you've got to have a lot of great players, and you've got to have them to buy in. What's the key? Because we talked about this earlier, there's a culture of winning here, which is invaluable. They know you can win, but what's it take to get those new guys in and new girls in to buy into what you do?
I think the biggest thing is that you build a relationship with them, and you treat them like adults and treat them with respect, and you let them know how hard you're going to have to work. But I think culture is handed down at this point by players, that your older players take newer players and they say, hey, no, this is the way we're going to do this here, and this is the way that you have to work. And if they're not setting that example, I don't think you can sustain culture. I think you kind of drive it and you form it, and you initially, but you start driving and you start steering it in the direction it needs to go, and sometimes you have to take a detour and move them in a different direction. But I think for the most part that when the players know that you work really hard and they feel like they're a part of something much bigger than themselves, I think they're the ones that drive a culture. But culture is so much more important than X's and O's. And we tell them that all the time, that who we are is not how smart we are, it's how hard we play and the way that we play. And we've been blessed to have a bunch of kids that have grown up and they expect to win, and they've seen how other people play, and I don't think that's deviated. And at times it's been more difficult, I think, when you have success. But I think that's probably been the most impressive thing here is we had your group of kids that no matter how much they won, they never really thought that it was about them. They were thinking it was about the work. And the 2 guys that's in the gym now, Keeter and Dalton, I mean, we would win a state championship on Friday, and on Saturday morning they would be in the gym talking about they had to get better. And every year they came back as a better player. And I think that's the thing. And we've just tried to keep an atmosphere of we expect to win regardless of who plays. And we tell them all the time, tradition don't graduate. And I don't know how ready this next group is for that and the pressure, but culture is the biggest thing I think that you do.
I don't know if you remember this or not. I saw you in Walmart in Booneville, I think during COVID. We're both in the meat department, probably at Lysol on our food now. And you had mentioned that you had a group. You had not won a championship the year before, but you said you had a group coming. It was a junior high group.
We did.
And you nailed it. Do you remember that group?
Yeah, we lost. We lost in the finals in 21, and my memory is not great, but I don't even think we came back to school. I mean, that was right at the time that COVID hit. It was right before spring break, so it hits and we don't come back. And we had this group that had not lost in junior high. And basketball, people can say what they want about North Mississippi basketball, but if you can win up here in junior high in this 5-county area, you're going to be really good. If you go back and you look at who won 5 county championships, whether it was Corinth, Baldwin, Belmont, different ones, those translated to winning at a really high level when they got into high school. And I'd watched them play since they were 3rd and 4th graders over in Alabama, and you just knew that they were special and that there's something about them. And when they got in junior high, they kind of took it to another level. And when they got in high school, they matured really fast. But I thought one of the things about them is they just hated losing. And that first year, Kedrick lost for the first time. He hadn't lost a game, and he was starting, and he had gotten sick one time. His mama got quarantined, and we lost a couple games. I think we lost 5 for the year. I'm like, he's lost more games in one season or a semester, literally, than he had lost in his whole career. And he never lost his last game. And you could just tell they were different. But, our junior high program is tremendous with Coach Moment and Coach Tynes. And when you stacked some of those grades together, you could just tell we were going to be pretty good if we were willing to give up ourselves. Because, a lot of people want to be the star. And not many teams that have the one-star wins. And all these guys were giving up themselves to have an opportunity to win. And the groups in front of them had won in the 5 county, and then you look and you say, but this group's really, really good. And we didn't know how good and how quick, but we thought we would have a chance to get back at it and have a chance to win it at some point with those groups. And we didn't know we would do it that fast.
Yeah. I talked with South Tulsa baseball coach Eric Reynolds about culture. They started South Tulsa Storms, kind of a travel ball type thing. You kind of do it from a junior high.
We do, but now Dr. Dukes has he's a parent, but he's a physician here, but he's basketball-wise, he's as high-end as any coach that you're going to see here or anywhere else. And they have this league in Alabama, it's this TVA league, and they go all over throughout our whole season. It lasts literally from the time we start practicing to the time our state tournament's over. But they require you to play with kids within your school. And it's certain grade levels and things, but they practice 2 to 3 times a week, and he really practices. And if you go over that league and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get embarrassed because these people put a lot in it. And I think that's where it starts, is because when Coach Moma gets them, they have a baseline, and then he can take it to another level. But the combination of those guys doing what they did with Dr. Dukes and Coach Moment, Coach Tynes, I think that's put our high school in a position to win. If you don't have, to be honest, if you don't have the right people on the right seats on the bus at those age groups, those kids are going to have, they're never going to get them. And if you do get them, they're going to be so far behind everybody else. But I mean, they've done a great job. That's who really gets the credit, because Dr. Dukes don't get paid. Mikey don't get paid near enough, and they're the ones that's laying the foundation for what we've done in high school.
I want to talk about your assistants too.
Okay.
You mentioned Coach Moment, Coach Tynes. Those guys, your coaching bench has not changed very much in a long time.
No, we've not had a lot of turnover, and we had some. And I think one of the things, like when they haven't left, they've, like Coach Wyndham's, he helped us at times, and he started with us, and he got an administration position, and you had different ones, but like from Coach Moment, Coach Tynes, Coach Johnson, those guys have been here. Coach Johnson, 5 or 6 years. Coach Tynes came in, I want to say either 15, 16, right in that time frame. So he's been close to 10, and then Mikey's been here the whole time. And I think it's about like a team that you have to have we may not always agree on stuff, but I think the deal with us is that we all have a connection. Those guys, Coach Moment, Tynes, they were in different roles, different phases in their life, and we got lucky enough to bring them here. And I think there's a loyalty factor there, that they know that I stood up for them when somebody else might not have been, and helped get them a job. And Coach Johnson and I were roommates, and then he was kind of in the same mode. He needed a break, and I think when you believe in an adult, it's no different than believing in a kid, and you give them responsibility, and you know that they can flourish in it. I think there's a loyalty part to it. I think it is, to be honest, I think it's actually disrespectful in some regards that some of these guys hadn't got major attempts to snatch them up. That's what you see at every level, that the people whose programs are winning, that's who you go try to hire. And I don't think they've gotten the respect that they deserve. I think they can coach with anybody at any level. I think they're all that good, and they're all great relationship builders. And we all have different levels of relationships probably with every one of them. I mean, Coach Moment may have some kids that I might not could reach, or Tynes either one, and then Tynes may have some, and Chip may, and then Maria's here now. She played here and she started it. She was on the first girls team that won. So when people have skin in the game at a really high level, I think it's different, and that's probably what has helped us as much as anything, is having staff continue to. And we can argue about a lot of things and about what we need to do and all that, but any argument we have is about winning. I mean, trying to push them to a higher level, and I don't think any of us are afraid to challenge each other either. Like, they'll tell me, hey, you're wrong, Coach, you're wrong, and how you're dealing with this, or I don't agree with how you're wanting to guard these people, or whatever it might be. They're strong enough in what they're doing and comfortable enough that they feel like they can do that. I mean, in games we give them autonomy. If you don't like what you see a kid doing, get them out and tell them. I mean, you don't have to tell me to get them out. I mean, you're coaching this team too, and I don't have an ego in regards to who gets credit or I'm gonna take the blame, but I understand if they don't do a great job, I'm not gonna do a great job, and vice versa. If I don't do a great job, they're not going to, and we have to have each other. And I think too many times on staffs, in every sport, you have people who are got one foot out the door, or people who are trying to get a job, or just all different things, and we've not had that here. I mean, we've been very blessed, but I think that goes back to getting the right people here. And I hate to thought of when some of them leave, and they will, or I will, or somebody will at some point, and you break it up. But it's just been special. I think we're all friends too, and I think we all feel like we're put together because that's where God wanted us to be, not because that's where somebody paid us. And I think that's a big deal.
But your bench goes beyond the bench, though. Your wife, Shauna, you've got 5 kids. She's been at every game since day one.
Yeah, for the most part. We have 7, and there's been a time or
You
two.
got 7?
Yeah, you missed 2.
I missed 2.
You've been gone way too long. She's the backbone of it. I mean, she's the superstar in the house, and you can't do anything without their blessing. And we got beat this year in the division tournament, and she knew that was not the ideal path to try to get to the state tournament. And I always feel like a coach, if you can help get them there, then you can always win it. And we knew we were going to have to go on the road, and I don't know that I went home before 1 o'clock for the next 2 weeks. And she understood that, and she knew what was at stake, but she didn't want to lose either. I mean, we have a kid involved, or we had kids involved, and but she does. She lets you coach and support you. And sometimes we argue because she'll tell me, "You all not do this, you all not do that." But the best part about our relationship is she don't coach, and I don't do her job. Like, I don't know anything about what she does, and she don't really want to know what I do. And we don't talk about it. And when we're there, we try to be present with our kids and not that. And I'm not great as a separator, but she helps keep me grounded. And I think, but she's the most successful one in our house, and it ain't even close for all that she does, and for degrees she's got and jobs she's got, and how she balances that and being a mother. And coaching is I guess it's really rewarding in some regards, but man, it's tough because the amount of time you're not with your family and you're with somebody else's kids, and it's not like you're playing at 11 to 2 o'clock in the day and you're home by 3. I mean, you're playing whenever, and our practices are after school, and you're looking up, and from whenever you start to whenever you finish the season, it may be 6 o'clock before you get home, and that's not counting if you have games. And so it's just hard. And then we're humans too, and nobody likes what anybody wants to go on Facebook. And we have all these keyboard warriors now that feel like they can say whatever they want to, and there's no consequences to it. And They just put it out there, and I don't have it for that reason, but for some reason people like to screenshot stuff and send it to you or send it to your wife, and then that they don't like that, and that's the part I hate is at games it's not as bad. I mean, you have an instance or two, but that's part of being involved in it, but at the same time I think that side of it is the hardest to handle. That just like if you're a pastor at church, they don't stand up and scream and yell and tell the congregation how dumb you are. But everybody feels like they can do that to us, and everybody knows more than the coach, and everybody thinks that they can say something just loud enough that the spouse might hear it or your kids might hear it, and there's not much class in these sports anymore, and it's or even respect matter, and that's the part I hate that she has to deal with, but she deals with it like a champ. And she's ready to fight for me versus me having to deal with it. So,
because that's going to be part of it, no matter when or lose, that's going to be part of it. And
it is.
Even though it's probably a minority of the people, that's usually the loudest that you hear.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the business, and imagine what these people at higher levels are dealing with.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just try to be where your feet are and put your head down and keep working and not worry about it. And as God feels like you've done what you're supposed to do, the heck with the rest of these people. And, I don't think that you take criticism from people that you wouldn't take coaching advice from. And if they feel like they can do a better job, by all means. There's a teacher shortage in the country and in Mississippi, and they can go get them a job, and they can do it too. And then there's a lot that can, but it's just a unique job, and it's getting harder because I think everybody's an expert now, and with social media like it is, it's getting worse and worse where they feel like they can just put whatever they want on there and there's no consequences, and we're not supposed to ever respond back and forth, and it's just a hard thing, especially for a spouse. I think it's harder on your spouses than it is a coach.
Talk about this town though, and correct me if I'm wrong, as a general rule, this school has a great fan base.
They do.
Because I've been at least to one of these where you come back from Jackson at 10:30 at night and they're here. I was here one night, the gym was full at 11 p.m.
Yeah.
What's this fan base mean to?
Well, it's I think everybody wants something to have pride in, and I think they have pride in their program, and not just the way they play, but what they've done in classrooms, and they're not perfect, but how they try to represent their school, and I think that especially those first runs that we had, that those kids did a great job of, I don't know what the proper word would be, but kind of gluing together a bunch of different types of people from, every town's got all kinds, but if you looked at our fan base, you had every section of the town, every type of socioeconomic background, you had every type of community. I mean, it was just awesome to see, but it was because of those kids. I mean, everybody could relate to somebody on that team. And, there's times that we felt like that in the past few years, we might have been just a little like spoiled, kind of. But I think that the whole town has took it as a sense of pride, and that they can go somewhere and that somebody can say, hey, that they try to play the game the right way. And that's what we've always wanted, and this town's a special place, and these people have supported these kids in so many ways, and came, and you don't win without that. And I think we try to let the kids know this: you're playing for these people. I mean, there's 10,000 people in this town. I mean, you're playing for them, and that's what that means on your chest. Is people every day that you go see at Walmart or wherever you go, you represent those people, and we shouldn't take it lightly, and I hope that we haven't. And but I think the town is what has made it so special. And I've been here 26 years, and we saw it when I first started. I was just in awe at our football program and how they were supported, and how you just knew and expected that, hey, we were going to win. And Coach Drury and how he ran a program, and it was. But I think what stood out is just everywhere we went, that's all people talked about was that football team and how they acted, and how people were watching them, and how they entered. I remember the first year I was doing my student teaching, and we went. They were staying at the Cabot Lodge, and they had a send-off to go to the state championship game. And I just remember watching those kids and watching the sense of pride they had and watching how people looked at them and thinking, man, that's the way it's supposed to be. And I think our staff, we tried to put it together similar to theirs. I had a master class by the way that football program was ran to watch every day, and they helped me so much. But to see how, man, those guys would kill somebody for each other, and it's just been fun. But I think our town has really taken pride in it, and whether you win it no more times or 15 more times, I think they'll always carry that with them, that they say, man, it's really good to be here, and this program represented us the right way.
Booneville's become synonymous with not just basketball, but successful high school athletics.
We're getting, in the last few years, every program we've had has been really competitive and competing for championships. And you know, we started soccer, and it was tough for a year or two. But the next thing you know, they're playing in the North Half Championship. And I just think we've pushed each other where you can't make an excuse of why you can't win if you see this program winning. And also you're handing, we had baseball kids that played basketball, and you know, you start handing people, kids that have won or expected to get there. I had a conversation with one of them. This was probably after the first round of the playoffs. He came and he wanted to talk about what I need to talk to my teammates about how to handle these other rounds. And it was so impressive to see a kid know what really it took to win and wanted to translate it to another kid. And I think that's what has happened here. And nobody wants to be the one not doing it, and I think we've pushed each other. And every program that we've gotten has really gotten better, but I think our coaches are working really hard. They're great human beings too, and I think the kids expect to win, and I think the parents want them to do what it takes to win. And that may be what's unique here, is we really haven't had parent problems in any sport. And I know I talked to some friends that they rarely don't have problems in sports. But like we've not had them. I mean, we're not perfect, but I mean, at the same time, it's not a revolving door where somebody's in there mad because my kid's not playing or my kid's not this or we're not. It's not been that. It's really been where every program wants them pushed, and I think the parents do, and that's been a lot of fun to see them. And I told one a few weeks ago that it was baseball. I said one of my favorite things to do is watch the parents. It's because I know what you've invested in it and all the time and the money.
So I want to take this back. Was it 2011?
It's 11.
You know what I'm about to ask. So
I would have been very, very disappointed if you didn't ask about that.
I worked in sports writing for almost a decade. That by far, the night we're about to talk about, is by far my favorite memory ever. And just to give some background, I was covering Aberdeen. I was working for the paper in Amory. Mm-hmm. I was here at Corinth to cover Aberdeen versus Corinth. Had we met?
No, didn't have a clue you were.
Didn't know you. You didn't know me. You're playing Cleveland East Side, and the late game.
Yep.
They had a guy named Johnny O'Brien who was going to be an NBA
He is. Pick. He played in NBA.
He played in the league. Went to LSU, maybe?
He did. He went to LSU, and then he got drafted. I want to say the Pistons drafted him,
okay.
But he played in the NBA, and then I think last I heard he was overseas playing still.
So he's still playing pro basketball?
I think so. I don't.
My job was to cover Aberdeen and Corinth, so I watched that game before yours. I go back in I say media room, probably with the food, hospitality room. I'm typing, and I keep hearing Booneville fans losing their minds. I peek out the door, and you're either winning or down by a point. I think you won. You pretty much led
whole game,
most of the whole game. So I go out and look, and I called back to the Daily Journal. I said, we're going to change the story. And Booneville's winning. That game, to me, you won that basketball game. You beat Cleveland East Side, and nobody thought you would.
No.
I mean, nobody gave you a chance. That's where this whole thing, to me, started.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I right?
No, that's where it started. And to go back, like we played Morville in the. We were actually we would have been a 2 seed. Corinth beat us for the 3rd time in division tournament. It was first time was a blowout. Second time we missed a shot from probably half court at Corinth to have a chance to beat them and missed it. And third time we really thought we had a chance, and they jumped all over us. It was 14-15 nothing, and that's why we got beat. And so we go and we play Morville here. We're kind of licking our wounds, and at the end of the first half we're up. I won't think we're up 3. We tip a ball in at the buzzer and go up 5. Second half we played really well, got away from them, and we won. Well, that's when the format was you had to play Tuesday. If you won Tuesday, you had to play Thursday to win to go Friday, and you had to go win Friday to get to Saturday. And so Corinth was hosting it, and it's one of the deepest fields that's been here ever. You had multiple Division I players in there, SEC players, and you had Johnny O'Brien. But we had seen them in person multiple times, and we had 17, 18 films on them, and 6'10", he's just a monster. I've never seen a high school player like him. And when we went and watched him, it was on senior night. There wasn't a whole lot of people there, but everybody we had watched played him the same way. And so we beat Morville, so we get to practice on Wednesday to play Thursday night, and we are playing the 8:30 game. And we go in and we put the kids down there on the stage, and we just said, hey, look, we've watched these people play 15-plus times, and everybody that we've seen play them just stands around and plays zone and lets him do, just kind of begging for mercy as a team. And I said, we have 1 or 2 choices. We can play them like that, or we can just go get them and see what happens. And I said, what do you want to do? And it was kind of a motivation thing, because that's the way we felt like we had to play them, but we wanted them to kind of buy in. Well, they all said, oh, man, we're going to get after them. So we practiced doing that for the rest of the day. And that night about 10:15, Jordan Miller, he passed away. He had an accident, and he died a while later. Probably the toughest kid that I've ever been around. And he texted me, he said, everybody on our team may be scared of him, but I'm not scared of him. He said, Coach, I'll guard him. And he's 6'2". You might list him at 6'3" in a program, but he's probably 6'2". But it's tough a human as I've ever been around. And we get into the game and we start doing that, and we turn them over early. It took us a little bit to kind of settle in offensively, but it was a good matchup for us too, because we were hard to guard man to man because of our guard play, and that's the way they played. And they were not great from a team standpoint defensively. They were great on the ball, and they had a great rim protector. And it was early in the game, and we kind of tried to pull him away from the goal and see what he would do, and he stayed attached, and we just kept we got layup after layup, and you could just tell they were frustrated. And they were a team running a lot of set plays, and all their set plays was predicated on their point guard starting at a certain spot. And we were making multiple people handle the ball, and they might get up the sideline, and there might be different areas on the floor, but they weren't getting to just start their stuff. And it disrupted them, and, man, we got ahead of them, and we just kind of tucked the ball under our arm. We were trying to rest. We told the kids, let's use it as timeouts, because we need to save them if possible. And they just got hyper aggressive and just extended out, and we just kept going by them. And it was that was an unreal game. And it flipped. It kind of changed everything about our program. From it was, I don't say David Goliath, we all use that term too much, but they hadn't been beat in Mississippi. They'd got beat one time in Rupp Arena by a team out of Kentucky, because Kentucky was recruiting him, and they just had no idea that a bunch of little guys would be able to play with them. And you win that game, and we had watched Alcorn Central lose to, I think we played 7, because Alcorn Central played SB Marshall at 8:30. And, man, they just destroyed them. And they were hollering and yelling at us, and we just told our kids to go home at halftime. I rode back with somebody else. And that first game gets a lot of credit, but in the second game, we were up, I want to say 13. in the first half. At the end of the first half, they were very similar. They played a 1-3-1 zone, and we got ahead of them and just kind of held it. And they came and got us and played us man. And I don't think we'd have beat them in the zone. And the craziest thing, we had a kid named Trey Welch, and Trey was the only senior we had besides another guy that tore his ACL, and he played all year long with tore ACL. His name was Braxton Crockett. And we had give up 1 or 2 offensive rebounds the whole first half, and this team's point guard was 6'5", 6'6". He played Division I in Arkansas, and we call a timeout because they run a 12-0 run to start the third quarter. And we're coming off the floor, and he says, "Can I say something?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "I'm not doing my job." He said, "I'm not blocking anybody out." And he said, "I'm not going out that way." And he said, "I just need 4 other guys to go block out with me." He said, "Because I have let us down. I've not done my job." And we go out and we go on a 15-0 run. But that still gives me chills, because you had decisions made by kids that said no, that they could have said, "Hey, they're good. We can't beat Eastside," and then, "Hey, we gave them our best shot." Nobody did that. And they said, "No, we're going to win this one." So we win that one, we play Corinth again in the game. We know we're going to Jackson, we play Corinth. And we're down to 8 with about 2 minutes to go. And I'm not going to say their names, but there was 2 women that came down on the baseline, and they've got these 2 huge boxes. And I look down there, and they're pulling out these North Half Championship T-shirts, and it's Corinth. So they're giving out these T-shirts. And we're in this timeout, and I look over there and I said, "Look, they already got the shirts printed." And that was all that was said. And we go down, and next thing you know, we tie the game. We go on a run and we tie the game. And the kid that probably most people would think the least likely to hit the shot hits the shot to win it. But it was just stuff like that those kids didn't flinch when it got hard. And the hardest to me to ever get down there is when you really don't know the way. You know, you hope to get there, but at the same time, if you've never been, there's so many things that can keep you from going mentally. And that team, they weren't going to flinch. They weren't going to be denied. And there's so many times. And the hardest part about basketball, it's different. I mean, a lot of sports got series and things, but you get caught in road games, you get caught in neutral site games. I mean, there's a lot of variables in basketball, and you have a bad night and get put out. But for them to go win those games, every year, you're going to have at least one game where you play really bad, and you have to find a way to win that game. And we've won 11 and we've lost 5. In every one of those that we've won, there's been at least a game that we could have just said, "Nope, this ain't our year." And I will say in 2 to 3 of those boy games, we lost them where somebody else said, "No, we're going to take it." In the games that we lost, and Belmont beat us twice that we felt like we could have won, and Velma Jackson beat us one time where we felt like we could have won. But the amount of times that you get into these situations and you're like, "Man, I just don't know," and a kid just says, "No, I'm gonna make a play," and their will to win is greater than the opponent's. That's what amazes me. And it happened last year in girls. We could have lost the Pisgah game so easily. We could have lost the game against Independence in the quarterfinals. We could have lost in guys and not even got down there when we went to Yazoo County. That's probably the biggest thing. And I think that where culture comes in, and being positive with them, and we're going to find a way. And that's been the most special thing. But that is where it started, and it'll be talked about to the end of time, from the little guards that couldn't get it done to Kenny Paul, little skinny guy over there. Is just a freak athlete, and then Jordan, and then some guys coming in off the bench. And there's a picture in the locker room where kids jumping up and down, and we'd taken it because it was about enthusiasm and about, even though your role might not be what you want it to be, you can be a star in your role if it's this at the time. And we had a kid he's off the floor, and the same kid, it would have been probably, I guess it was between the first and the second game, I've walked by him over there on the side goal, and I hear him say, "Man, I'll be glad when this is over. I'm ready to go to baseball." And but that was him at that time not expecting to win. And I think now the one thing that kind of gets us sometimes is we want to just fast forward and get to the fun stuff. And if you skip steps this time of year, you're not going to be able to make the steps you want at the end. But that's where it started, and that's where you and I kind of got connected.
Yeah.
It was the funniest. It was almost surreal back there. You just like, I wasn't supposed to be here, and but you were, and it wasn't by accident. And we took the gym over.
You did.
It was the loudest thing I've ever heard, and you start hollering late in. The coolest thing was late in that game, and when the game's over, we can hear Corinth fans chanting, "We want Booneville, we want Booneville, we want Booneville."
I remember that.
And I'm just like, man, that's unbelievable. And they just you don't have games like those anymore where you can't get another human in there.
No,
I mean,
that's unfortunate.
But that's the fun ones.
Yeah.
I mean, people just don't come out, and I don't know if it's all the TV stuff or all that we've got live streaming, but yeah, I've watched a lot of games on TV that I can't imagine being there in person, and I don't want to miss it. And that one was fun, and then in 2022, after we lost in 21, we knew the whole year the way these preset brackets was, we were going to North Panola. There was no way around it. We couldn't get out of it. They couldn't get out of it. And we felt like that might be the state championship game. And that was probably the most fun environment that I've ever been in, to go win. It's nothing like winning on the road, not in the playoffs, and something like that.
I just know that night back in Corinth, I stepped out. I guess I came to watch the end of the third and the fourth period. I see this lanky white kid dunking the basketball over. Who is this guy? Had no idea who Kenny Paul Gino was at the time. But that was kind of his coming out party.
It was.
You mentioned George, you mentioned Trey. I remember all those guys like it was. I know you do,
Sure.
but I do like it was yesterday. But those guys are credited with the foundation of what we're talking about now.
They were the ones, and we were in here in the summer one day, and we had 11 guys, and one of them had to leave, had to go work, and he actually teaches the middle school now, and Kenny was the 11th one, and he got in there, and it's like a switch went off. And he went from, I'll aggravate Coach Wyndham all the time, because he'd say, "Man, I just don't know if Kenny's ever going to be able to play." And then in a year and a half's time, it was like, man, he can play. But he didn't flinch either. And he did sometimes, but those older guards, boy, they're tough on him. And they made him where they couldn't be any quit in him, and he just got better and better. But that was a special group. I mean, they lost games they probably shouldn't have, but man, it was so good back then. I mean, I think Baldwin beat us twice, Corinth beat us 3 times, Alcorn Central beat us, and I want to sketch on the other one. We was 28-7. I want to say Morville, but I don't remember if it's Morville for sure. But no, I think it was Newside, because we lost. We had won, and we went out there and we turned around and we got popped, and we beat them in their tournament, and they beat us in Thanksgiving. But I thought that particular game, we had some that were late and just not doing what we were supposed to do, and didn't take it serious. And I think that's the one thing that you got to do if you're going to make these runs, is that if you're any good, and I think any coach will tell you that these programs you're talking about, like when you get a schedule, like whether it's ours or somebody else's, you're going to circle certain games, it's big games to you. And on our schedule next year, it may be Choctaw Central, or it may be Olive Branch, or whoever it might be. That's just random stuff. But everybody does that. But if you're really, really good, everybody circles you. So every school, when you go down the list, they're going to say, well, we want to play this team, or we want to play. And we try to tell them all the time, you don't have the luxury of it not being a big game to you. You have to mentally prepare. And a lot of kids can't handle that pressure. Like, we can't have an off night because they're going to celebrate. That's the deal. Like, you want to see them jump up and down and act fool, which is what you should do. Mm-hmm. And that's been the fun part, is to see people embrace that. And we tell them all the time, you don't get to pick all your fights, but you have to get in them. And if it's there, you got to go see what you got.
How does you've won 11 championships? Does the feeling change number 11? Because the first one, obviously, you're going to remember that.
Right.
How does it change from 1 to 11? Is it the same?
Well, I think one thing that's helped me personally, and I tell them a lot, like, it may not be your first time, but it's that team's first time. You know, and it's their only time. So, you know, we have some coming back from this year's girls team the next year, but it's going to be that team's first time, and we need to treat it that way. We need to not treat it with arrogance and, oh, this is just what's going to happen. No, there's people who are going to pop up every year that you don't expect. There's teams you've never heard of that are going to be senior loaded, or somebody might move in or move out, and it just changes. And we've just tried to treat it that way and to try to celebrate each part of it. Now, there's one of the most disappointing probably things that I mean, it's not disappointing, but it was also something that was prideful, I guess. It was both, but we had won a game in girls to qualify to go to the to go to the state tournament. And the way ICC's set up, you can, depending on when you play, your lockers may be close to somebody else's. And we had played first, and we heard a team celebrate for going to the state tournament. And when we won, we didn't play great, but like they acted like they actually lost. I mean, that's the only thing I have seen sometimes, that they don't appreciate it for what it is. Now, I try not to act fool like you did the first time, but I just think that you treat it like it's that group's one and only shot. And that some of those kids on that team, they have not ever done it. And some of them are freshmen, or, you know, or you may have a sophomore that you didn't win the year before, or what. They deserve your very best. And if I can't give them what I gave them in 11 or 14 or whenever, then I need to quit, because that's what they deserve. And that's the only thing that, like, I know we talked about somebody might be excited about a different job. Well, I try to approach each year as a different job. Like this coming year, I think we have a boy team and a girl team that cannot, either one of them, play the style that the other one plays and win. Or maybe not, or one couldn't play those. Mm-hmm. So it's my job to not just say, this is the way we play, or this is the way they're going to do it. So I've got to make sure that I'm the best I can be for those two teams to give them a chance. And that's what makes you keep coming back, is to see, can you win it with a different group, or can you get there with a different group, or when somebody writes you off, can you do it? And you know, I will say this, since we're live, I don't think like that our boys ever got the credit they deserved from winning it 4 times in a row. And I don't really understand what that was, but like, they didn't feel like they got the credit that they deserved.
That's the state record?
No, I think Malik and them won it 4, okay. But there was only a handful that ever did it.
It's very difficult to do.
I mean, you have to have talent, but you have to have people. You have to have balance of talent across grades. I think you have to have a star, but I think you have to have unselfishness. My gosh, you have to be lucky. So many times you can tell them about, that every coach will tell you in basketball season, you just want to get to the end healthy, not having the flu, not having the stomach virus, not having strep, not having all that stuff. And you just kind of stumbling, I guess, in the home. But we never thought that feat was looked at like it should have. I don't know that people appreciate what Ingramar's done, or other schools that's won it. 3 or 4 or 5 times in a stretch there. Are we actually appreciating what East Union softball has just done? I mean, they've won it 4 times in a row. They got great players, great culture, an unreal community that supports those kids. They got great coaches, but they hadn't got complacent. But do we really respect that for what it is? I mean, is it because it's girls softball, or is this because it was boys basketball, or is it because I mean, we're not doing a great job as a society of lifting kids up for what they're doing well. Now let one of them mess up, and we'll make sure that we really drop the hammer. But I'm amazed at what and they'll say, wow, they just had Hallie Burns is why they won it 3 times, or they just had Kedrick Simmons or what. But these people are defying a lot of odds when they go through that stretch, and I thought those kids just said, man, I don't think people appreciate it, and they never understood that, why there was never a lot of attention put on them for doing what they did.
Is it because we're in such a time where we don't live in the moment, we just live for the next thing, this swipe culture? Is that why we don't appreciate it?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that sometimes we don't appreciate greatness till it's gone. And I think that sometimes that people just want to hurry up and get it over with because they get tired of it. I mean, but I think that may be a valid point. We're so quick to, hey, let's slap this together and let's get on to the next sport, as opposed to, hey, now these we idolize sometimes teams that won it one time, or back in this decade, or 50 years ago, and then you start saying these guys won it 4, or New Site won it from 65 to 69, or Wheeler won it all those years in the 80s. Do we really appreciate when people do it over and over and over? And I think that's the hardest thing to do. I think there's so many things that can come at you and derail you, not necessarily the first time, but the minute you win it the first time. Like we won it the first time, we had somebody transfer out. Would have started the next year probably. Just transferred. And it was just like, man, winning is not enough. And for those best players to just keep working and giving themselves up. I mean, Alec not only made a play in the Coahoma County, I've never seen a play made like that in high school sports. It could have been on ESPN. And we had lost a girls' game at the buzzer, and we turned around in 10 minutes and had to play the boys' game. And we're all over there in a coma as coaches. And that's the worst game I think I've ever been a part of. And I can tell you that I don't know that we had a coach on our bench that did anything to win the game. And he made a chase down play where we were done. And he gave us a chance to win. I mean, we were that close from not winning. And every one of these teams have that. But sometimes I don't think we appreciate that part of it. And I'm just proud our kids hadn't got sidetracked because of that.
Last thing, 11 championships, we talked about some great teams. This culture's incredible. This town has just embraced Booneville in all sports at this school. What's beyond the championships, though? If you left tomorrow, if you live in 10, 15 years, what's beyond the championships? What do you want people to remember about you and these teams?
Well, I mean, I think everything's going to come to an end. And, like, when you get to my stage in a career, it's closer than it is farther. I don't want to be the one that's hanging on to a whistle that barely can do it. I think there's a level physically and cognitively that you need to be able to do it at. And I just think, we were talking the other day at home about this has been over half of my life that I've been here. And for a quarter of a century, you've been a coach here. And that you just don't do that anymore. And I just want people to think that you did it with every ounce that was in you, that you poured into it, and you gave kids an opportunity to see that they could make it. And I mean that from a standpoint, I see so many kids that are not believed in, and I can't stand it. And they have situations, whether it's at home or wherever, where people don't build them up. And unfortunately, sometimes these are the most, you have a chance to impact them and show them that no, you can do it. And that's what I hope is the players that come back talk about how it was. I mean, and people who saw it. And, I look forward to who does it next and taking it to another level. I think there's still a lot of work to be done. But I don't know, it's scary because you get to this age and like, man, once you ain't working anymore, you're just going to kill over. But at the same time, you just want everybody to know you left it better than it was. And that's not a slide on anybody at all. I mean, the ones before us laid the foundation that we were able to take off and run with it. But you just hope that historically looking back, people can say, hey, I was there from those times, and that was somebody you didn't want to play. They were going to come at you. And I hope kids carry those lessons with you, that regardless of what people say that you are. I was doubted as a kid, and I had a first grade teacher one time tell me in front of her class, she said, "You're never going to amount to anything." And that stuck with me from how I want to coach. I don't want to coach people that way. And I mean, we've all made mistakes, but you want to show people that there's opportunity, not obstacles. And I've just been very blessed to be here with people over and over that I think believed in you and believed you were going to get it done and gave you what you needed to get it done. And Mike Maddox was here when I started and I did my student teaching. He probably got me in here like with people that might not ever have gotten on their side, and he just automatically know you got to take care of him. And Coach Drew was the same way Rick was, and I was just very, very fortunate.
That's all I got.
Well,
Appreciate
thanks,
you, man.
I appreciate
Thank you, man.